Hi everyone, it's Amber with Belly Cuts and More. Today we're going to do a video on our Sunset Beach design number 402 and kind of a how to paint video. This is a great design. It has some fun flowers, palm trees, and all sorts of stuff that we can paint and add some accents and details to. I want to answer a couple quick things before we get started, and the first one is, do people ask me all the time, do you paint prior to cutting or engraving? Yes, I do. I always like to put a nice base layer. I feel like it makes it a lot easier to where you don't have to worry about getting in the lines. For me, it works out great. It also gives me a larger range of backgrounds because I can really put some different patterns, and I've splatter painted before. Put texture, all sorts of things. So yes, pre-painting is great. The next thing is what do you use? A lot of people want to know if I use paint pens or brushes. I do use brushes and I use acrylic paint. So let's get started. For this earring, I'm going to start off with the trunk of the palm tree and use just a regular brown. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in for the leaves a green and then also a lime green because I'm going to be adding a little bit of accent to it. On my earrings, I try to always do a first layer. Sometimes it may not need it. I do find after you do that first layer, a lot of times once it dries, you'll see that there could be a few spots that actually do not have paint, little holes, or it just needs a little bit of extra vibrant color, so it needs two coats. So always go ahead and put that first coat down and take a quick look over the earrings and just make sure if it doesn't need a second coat. It's really fun painting these leaves. I don't know if you noticed, but I typically do them kind of mirrored. So I start off on one side and then I paint the same thing on the other side. I do this on purpose because I feel like it keeps me in line. Then that way I don't have to worry about, I feel like sometimes if especially if you're doing certain colors and you want to get the exact same color on both sides, I feel like if you do them all at one time, you're going to kind of get that same effect because you're used to putting in exactly what you did on the other one immediately after you did it. A lot of times I'm mixing my paints as I'm going too. And if you wait till one's finished and then go back and do the other side, you may find that you don't get the same mixture of colors. So I always recommend kind of mirroring your work. So once you get done with one side, doing like I'm doing some leaves on one, I go back and do the leaves on the other. Then when I switch and do something else, I go back and do the other side too. So just back and forth. Now right here, you'll notice I'm going back in and I made a boo-boo. I actually went outside the line just a little bit. So what I did is I got something as close as I could to the original base that went down. The great part is acrylics usually do, blend in fairly decently. So I just kind of lightly brushed it and I brushed my boo-boo away. Another question that I actually get a lot is about my colors. How do you pick out your colors? I do a search. On this particular one, you can do a search beach palettes. And there's going to be a lot of stuff and pictures that come back with just nice color combinations. So if you're kind of at a loss as to, what design, or colors that you want to put into that design, just go ahead and do whatever palette and it will bring you back lots of options. It's just a great way, especially if you're painting lots of earrings. Sometimes you run out of ideas. So, and depending on how tired you are, it can happen. So it's just a great thing to just kind of see some different color combinations that go really nice together. And then you can pick the one that works the best for you. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to the water. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with doing the flower. I went with a fuchsia color and a coral. I thought they looked really nice together, really popped alongside the blue and the yellow with the green. I'll go ahead and bring in some of that coral color on the second flower. Once I get both sides painted, I'll go ahead and start adding in some of the accents. And this is one thing that I think really adds to the earring and makes it different than, another person's earring, especially if you're painting these to sell. You want to try to add that little extra detail. I chose to go ahead and start with a yellow center, and basically you're going to pull from your middle out. Now if you want it more vivid, you can go ahead and put a little bit more paint. I usually start with just a little bit of paint because I like it to look very natural when I'm doing it. Sometimes it's easier to actually be pulling down, and you can kind of see the detail here. And on these, I actually will come back in and I will do white from the center over the yellow too, just to add even more layer to it. So we'll just finish these up. Put a little bit of the white in. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe.